Greetings and salutations, Geo nerds! Well, what has salt and vinegar chips? Really? You're going to say you've lost your mind, T-Rocks. What has salt and vinegar chips got to do with this awesome looking mineral? It's iron pyrites and this horrible sludgy looking stuff down near the mouth of the Brisbane River. Well, trust me on this one, hang in there. We will find out together. Okay folks, we're starting over South Bank cause no reason. Here we go, we're going to whiz up Turbot Street today because we can. The SGIO building as we used to call it, now known as the Suncorp building. I don't think it's changed its name again actually. There's pretty old metadata. Over Hamilton, there's one of our spooky houses down there. Turak House. And here we are, this is all, we're not going far today again. This red stuff, this red hole in the ground, that's acid sulfate soil. What you're seeing there is actually iron oxide or, rust leaching out of the ground. That's no longer there, by the way. We've moved on from this. They've actually managed to repatriate this. But that's what it looked like. And I remember when it looked like that. And it stinks. It makes hydrogen sulfide, which you can't smell, but it also makes sulfur dioxide, which you most certainly can smell. Just whiz down Schulz's Canal here a bit, because this is the area I'm actually going to go out and do a walk through, which you'll see in a minute. This area here, this is also acid sulfate soils, and it's quite acidy. So folks, all through this video we're going to be talking about pH. So I thought we might spend a few seconds to catch up with you on your high school chemistry and what pH actually means. But when I started listening to it, it might as well have been in French.
Le pH est une expression de la concentration en ions hydrogène dans l'eau. Plus précisément, le pH est le logarithme négatif de la concentration en ions hydrogène, H+, mol par litre, dans une solution aqueuse.
Well, there you go. Lemon juice, strong vinegar, battery acid, pH of 2, water, something you really can't taste, 7, and Drano way up the other end. That's probably good enough for what we're going to cover today. Well, you hear quite often people say, oh, some plants like an acid soil, and they do. Just, slightly acid off neutral. Nothing you're going to eat as a food crop or even grass is going to grow much below 4. It's certainly not going to grow well. And the reason is its path to nutrients are blocked by the low pH. It can't absorb minerals out of the soil that it needs. So yeah, once you get below that, it's game over for plant life, really. So if you're out on the trail and you see the tomato soup, which we all have, travelling around, you're in the presence of acid sulfate soils. And when it gets big and bad, it does this. It's an entire forest bird off by it. I'll show you some stuff later of a mistake that was made in cans, which caused a big problem. So here's an idea. Look at those pHs, 3.5, 2.5. There's your salt and vinegar chips. If you put that in your mouth, you would well and truly know how sour it was. Well folks, here we are on one of these sulfate soil locations, and I just thought I'd show you this. I'm just putting my meter into an area where the grass is actually growing. As you can see, 6.4 pH, which is pretty cool. It's around neutral, what you'd expect. Here's quite a goopy bit. Something interesting. It's the pH meter.
near the surface, it's really acidic, which is where the oxygen is. You'd expect that 4. And that was 3.6 before, 4.1. That's pretty much about the acidity of orange juice. And of course, just here there's a patch, and it's off scale low, which means it's below 1, which is really acidic. You don't want to get that in your eyes.
So what happened? Well, here we are at Brisbane. We've seen this from the FlyIn before. This is the area we're talking about, just to make it simple. So we'll go back to 1936. Here it is. Beautiful farmland. Cows. Growing crops. What went wrong? Well, you don't disturb the soil. You don't let the oxygen in. So what we did, we cut all the trees down. That's always a mistake, usually. And you can see that this is 1967. You see what we've done. It's a close-up of those, whatever those pens were up top. Stick a pin in that because they're still there. You can still see them today, or the scar of them anyway. 2001, here we are. Oh, we're starting to see why, because we've dug drains all across it. We're letting oxygen in, we're drying out the soil. Here goes the bacteria. It's having a ball, turning it into sulfuric acid. Here we are in 2003. We've got well-developed acid sulfate soil with lots of iron oxide in it. This is no use for agriculture whatsoever, and nothing grows in it. Just to remind you, this is what it looks like today. They've actually done a pretty good job. And that ring is around those pens. If you look at them from the freeway, not when you're driving, it's there. Here's the little fellas that do it. Lactobacillus acidophilus, right? And there's another one called Triobacillus ferrodiones. There's a bunch of these bacteria that will actually eat pyrite. They will stick onto the surface of it and dissolve it into sulfuric acid. And you know what happens then. Here's the pyrite. Probably be much smaller pieces than this. This is a nice piece, fool's gold, and otherwise there's iron pyrites, there's copper pyrites. So they're all sulfates. Here's the bacteria growing in a petri dish, concentrating the iron, Acidobacillus ferroduxins. I said that wrong. Here it is munching on a piece of pyrite. Microphotograph, taking it apart. Looks like one atom at a time, but I don't think it is. And when it does this, you end up with this. This is an acid scald. You don't need to be near the sea to get this. There are sheoaks in there. If sheoak won't grow in it, it's bad. But that's an acid scald. The grass won't grow in it. You also see this if you're out and about quite a bit. This is in Cairns, the Trinity Inlet. Someone decided to build a wall and put a cane farm in. Yeah, that didn't work. Nothing worked. It just destroyed the air. This is what they ended up with because they didn't do the soil work properly, and it was an absolute disaster. Here's an area, and I'm going to show you a photo of it after they let the water table back up and stop messing with it. So this is what they did, and this is what it's like now. So it's not the end of the world. Well, it is if you're a creature that lives in it, but that's it. And Brisbane actually does a little tough on this because our host rock, which is this shale, is full of quartz. And that quartz is full of pyrites. So not only do we get the pyrites it forms naturally in the soils here, which they certainly do, the bacteria gets in there and helps all that happen, we've got rocks that are loaded with the stuff that weather down and end up as silt in our estuaries and the mouths of our rivers. And this is a track just up the back of St Lucia, or Toowong really, and it's like snow. That's all quartz, and all that dark stuff in that quartz is pyrites. It can be copper pyrites, mostly it's iron pyrites. Some of it's manganese staining. Might even be a bit of gold in there if you're lucky, but I doubt it. Might be a little bit. Anyway folks, that's enough for acid sulfate soils. It's a complex thing. I don't pretend to know all about it, but I saw it and I didn't know much about it. The more I read about it, I thought, man, what's that sludgy stuff? That's what it is. It's us. If you look down at the mouth of the river, there a lot of those balls and those scars occur in straight lines because they're bulldozer tracks. Some idiot drove a bulldozer through there 20 years ago, let the oxygen in, and boof, it's gone. Anyway, thanks to all the new subscribers. I really do mean it. And keep rocking. T-Rock's out.